Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host. He is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanchstradamus, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Nick Fuentes, America's Next Leader or Psyop. You said you couldn't wait for part two. I went and watched the doc without you all. Which one? What part two? Oh, the Trayvon Martin part two. Oh, my bad. I'm gonna finish that this Saturday. My bad. Are you on vacation in New Orleans? You having a good time? How was the food? Now I heard the food is the best in Lafayette. That's what I was told. I was told Lafayette had the best food, then Baton Rouge, and then New Orleans. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Prudence? What's up, Cruise Missile? What's up, Tierra? What's up, Ashley? What's going on, y'all? Today's title again is Nick Fuentes, America's Next Leader or Psyop. Let's get into Nick Fuentes again. He's such an entertaining person, you know. We just can't get enough of him over here. Let me try to find this video that he did. Is it this one?
We talk about this, by the way. I know a lot of black people. The reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame.
Time out. I've been to New Orleans 1,000 times. No, I was saying they said the best food, critics say that the best food is Lafayette, Baton Rouge, then New Orleans. But I've been to New Orleans 1,000 times. I have not been to Lafayette or Baton Rouge, but I've been to New Orleans 1,000 times. So all I have to go by is New Orleans. I don't know about Lafayette or Baton Rouge, but the food critics say it's Lafayette first, Baton Rouge, then New Orleans. But let's get into it.
The reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them. Every bit justified. And you want to know why? Because we see what happens. And nobody is under any obligation due to liberal ideology to put themselves in harm's way. If you're a white person and you're going to work or going to the ball game or going to the city at night, you don't want to enter into the Terror Dome where you're suddenly in a sudden death match. You're like in the gulag in Call of Duty fighting for your life all of a sudden because you got on the wrong train car. Because a car full of black people pulled up on you by the bus stop. You turn and you walk the other way. You avoid their neighborhoods. You avoid going out on Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend at night in certain places. When you see them, you start walking in the other direction. And we are every bit justified because we see what's going on and we don't want to die. It's that.
So this is where the language has to get specific, right? I don't think that a person is racist because they don't want to be around another group of people. To me, that's not racism. And a lot of times it's just being smart. But I don't think that that's being racist. And the problem is the language, right? We have to get the language right. So saying that someone is racist for wanting to avoid black people is a problem, because all you're doing is fueling the fire that you're trying to put out. You have to get the language correct. So people should have a right to choose who they want to be around. That's not racism. It's not. It's called a choice. It's called a preference. It's called freedom. It's called liberty. In a lot of cases, it's called just being smart. So, but once you call that action racist, now you demonize white people choosing to separate themselves from other groups of people of color, which they should be allowed to do. So you have to get the language correct. Because saying these type of things, like with the January 6th thing, when he was talking about it, he was using words like militias and attacking the police and breaking into the Capitol and all of these words. No matter what point you're trying to make, these are Pavlov's dog's words. You activate the machine. You have to get the language correct. So that means if you're going to be in a public space, you have to get the language correct. That's why I say anti-white agenda, black culture. I use specific terms. If somebody asks me, I can point to specific things. These aren't gaslighting terms. I'm not just saying, if I say this channel is a pro-white channel, what am I saying? I'm saying this channel is not into demonizing white people because they're white, or demonizing anybody for that matter. But we have to get the language right. It's not racist for a person that wants to separate themselves from any group of people. If I can be honest, I avoid large groups of black people myself. I used to run to the groups of black people. Now I avoid them. But let's continue.
Simple. That's pattern recognition. That's not racism. That's pattern recognition. That's one. And two, I really hope, because I'm rooting for black people, like I'm rooting for humanity. I'm rooting for everybody.
Yeah, and pattern, again, that's a good phrase, is pattern recognition. So if you see a certain pattern out of a certain group of people, you should avoid them. You feel like they're going to be a threat. So again, we got to get the language right, because the problem is that what he's doing is not going to work if at the end of what he's saying, everybody thinks that he's racist. And make no mistake about it, the majority of black people do not agree with Nick Fuentes. They don't. The majority don't. The people that you see reposting and agreeing with Nick Fuentes are just not the typical liberal black people. That's all. 99% of black people disagree with Nick Fuentes. There are a few content creators that have some sense that agree with him. But we got to get the language correct so that the message does not get distorted. Because what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, he's just racist, and you're not going to listen to him. Think about it. Every time they mention Nick Fuentes' name, what do they make sure to mention? That he's anti-Semitic and that he's racist. And black people, for the most part, that are a lot of them that are reposting Nick Fuentes, they only like him because he's talking about conservative blacks. Because they dislike conservative black people, you know, black people have this problem where if a white person shares their talking point, all of a sudden now their talking point is valid. That's why most black folks like Nick Fuentes, because he gets on black conservatives. That's why. And he talks about the Jews. That's another reason. So in their mind, he has street credibility. But make no mistake about it, Nick. Make no mistake about it. If the Bliggities were in charge, they would hang you up by a stake. I'm just being honest with you. Don't ever, Nick, I'm telling you from experience, don't ever get comfortable with the Bliggities, because the first chance they get, they're going to string you up. I'm telling you.
To be safe and to be healthy and to be happy. I really hope that somewhere out there, although I'm not optimistic, black people are starting to develop some sense of self-awareness. Where's the shame? Aren't you people ashamed? When I see these clips of the graduation ceremonies where they're twerking on stage and dancing, when I see these videos of the black cheerleaders on the basketball court brawling it out, when I see the Carmelo Anthony, and not only that, but then they raise $500,000 for him and then they get a public defender. When I see that video of a black security guard rifling through the pockets of an unconscious white guy that got his ass kicked, and the list goes on and on and on. You have to ask the black people that are normally so proud, and with the chip on their shoulder, aren't you ashamed? Are you not ashamed when you see these things? Are there any black people that see this and have the slightest lick of self-awareness, of common sense, of decency to say, are you not ashamed to see these scenes play out over and over again?
And this is what I talk about when I talk about addressing the programming, the propaganda, and the culture. What is black culture is rooted in communism. The foundation of black culture is communism. The foundation of white culture is Western Christian values. You see the difference? The foundation for black culture is communism. The foundation for white culture is Western Christian values. So that means as a default, white people can go to that culture, but as a default for black people, their culture is rooted in communism and Marxism. This is why we have to be contextual when we're speaking about this, because what happens is you say, do y'all have any common sense? Do y'all have any shame? Yes, they have both of those things, but the problem is that black people are told that if you, Nick Fuentes, don't like something, they're doing the right thing. If white people don't like something, then you're doing the right thing. So that means, example, police are bad. If police are bad in black culture, what is the flip side to that statement? If police are bad, then that means what? Criminals are good. You see how that works? You see how that works? If white people are bad, then that means what? Black people are good. This is all about programming, all about propaganda. And again, black culture, the culture of black people in America is rooted in communism. It's not rooted in Christian values. It's not rooted in Western culture. That ain't what black culture is. So when we're having these conversations, and again, they don't want to have these conversations because it's too nuanced. You got to sit down and explain too much, and their audience ain't the sharpest knives in the drawer. I'm sorry, they're not. So they try to keep the message very simple. I'm coming by because I am a fan of context. I know that context removes the emotion. So I know that when the average black person or liberal is listening to Nick Fuentes, they are getting upset. They are emotional. 99% of them. So again, the reason why black people don't view crime the same is because they don't view authority the same. So white people, sensible white people, have seen the police as people that are coming to keep the street safe. They're coming to protect my private property. They're coming to make sure that people just can't just come and just do harm to me. That's how police are traditionally seen in white society, Western culture. They are seen as people that come around to keep the peace, to keep the crime down, keep the confusion down. That's what they're seen as in white culture. But in black culture, that's not how the police are viewed. They're viewed as racist and the enemy. These are two very different ideological views. That means when a black person is looking at the world and when a white person is looking at the world, when I say white, I'm not counting liberals or libtards. I put libtards with the blacks and all that. They all the same. When I'm talking about white people, white folks with some sense, when they view the world, it is completely different from how black folks view the world, the average black person. There is nuance in this conversation. Now, I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong. I'm just saying that if you really want to solve the problem, then we got to actually get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is going to go back to culture. It's going to go back to the communists, the Marxists, and it's going to go back to everybody's in on it. Everybody's in on black people being programmed and propagandized. Everybody's in on it. You look at the liberals behind black people, it's whites, it's Jews, Hispanics, it's Asian, it's everybody. It's a collaborative effort behind black people crashing out for this communist agenda. So again, when we're talking about this, as if black people are existing in this country without any programming and without any propaganda. You can't cut the TV on. You can't pick your phone up. You can't look at a billboard. You can't watch a train go by. You can't go nowhere in society and not see programming that is done against black people. You can't even go anywhere and see it. Matter of fact, it's so prevalent, folks don't even notice it. Now I got somebody in here and he said Judaism, he said the Jews control the heart of communism. This is my problem with you all. This is my problem with you all. This is my problem with you all. So if the Jews are controlling communism, then are you going to be upset at the people following the Jews controlling communism? If the Jews control globalism, are you going to be upset with the people following the Jews controlling globalism? Half of the white population is liberal. That means half of the white population are following the Jews. So it seems like to me that you all will be focusing on, because you're not going to change the Jews, you'd be focusing on the liberals. Because half of the white population is in step and barrel with the Jews. So whatever y'all think the Jews are doing, half of your population of white people are marching with them. So it seems like to me that you all be trying to talk to them because you're not going to change the Jews. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand that if every person of color leaves the planet tomorrow, you all are going to have an all-out war with these liberals? The white liberal, you think they're crazy now. Imagine when they can't virtue signal. Imagine when they can't use other groups of color. Imagine when the white liberal has to actually convey their message against half of the country that is conservative. They're going to start crashing out. You think it's bad now. It will be a lot worse with just white liberals and white conservatives. It would be a lot, because I'm telling you now, they would wage war against you all. I don't mean no war with no protesting. No, they would be crashing out, strapping bombs to themselves. They will be going, because you know why? Because them being in control is that far away. Think about it. They'd be saying, all we got to do is defeat them and we got the country. So again, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you all have not found a way to defeat the Jews. So since you all can't defeat them, I think that you all should be trying to convince the rest of the people to not follow them with all these agendas. I'm just saying.
Where's the accountability? And this is where that word fatigue comes in. We're just tired of seeing it. You see these clips and you know every race of person, maybe except for most blacks, white, Chinese, Indian, Hispanic, and even liberals see these clips and they say, are you surprised? They shake their heads. They say, yep. Usual suspects. They say, yep, that's about right. Are you not ashamed? And when are black people going to turn that around?
Again, you all have not found a way to defeat the Jews. You have not found a way to do it. You all sound the same way black people sound talking about white people. You all sound the exact same way. You all do not have a strategy on how to defeat the Jews. You don't have a political strategy. You don't have an economic strategy. And you sure don't have a social strategy. You don't have any way to defeat the Jews. When you are talking about Gentiles and Jews, every non-Jewish person is a Gentile. So that means white people, that means Asians, that means Native Americans, that means blacks, that means Hispanics, that means anybody that is not Jewish is a Gentile. So if anybody goes to court and these so-called Jews are in charge, then if you're not Jewish, they're going to throw the book at you. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Like when it comes to globalism, they're not going to pick and choose. You think and when the Antichrist comes, you think he's going to spare the Jews? When the Antichrist shows up, do you think he's going to spare the Jews? He's not. He's going to terrorize everybody because he don't care. His goal is to collect souls. His goal is to collect souls. Now listen, the Jews may think we got a Messiah coming, he's going to look out for us, but they're going to be sadly mistaken. I'm telling you. When the Antichrist shows up, he is coming to destroy. Nobody's going to be safe. Not the Jew, nobody. So again, I get what you're saying, but my question is, what are you really saying if you don't have a plan to defeat these Jews? Thank you, Shoshana. Thank you, Shoshana. And I'm trying to get these people to see past Jewish people. Because the problem is the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of darkness, against wickedness in high places. Those titles go to people or beings way above the Jews. We talking about folks past the Jews. Y'all gonna get hung up on the Jews, and the Antichrist gonna show up, and when he's slaughtering them, then what you gonna do? When the Antichrist is slaughtering them too, then what are you gonna say? We were wrong. My bad. Can we hide in this cave with you all? Like, what you gonna say? So again, you all are short-sighted because y'all don't read the Bible. Y'all don't read the Bible. So you talk about y'all are Christians, talk about y'all are believers, but you don't read the Bible. So how are you standing on God's word, but not standing on God's word? That's why you all's vision is so short-sighted. That's why y'all don't have a solution for nothing. Anybody can get on here and talk about, I can talk about any race of people. They all got something I don't like. All of them, Jews, blacks, whites, Asians, they all got something I don't like, all of them. But they also all have gifts from God as well. It's balanced. But at the end of the day, I'm saying that you all have to understand that this is bigger than Jewish people. I'm telling you it is. When this thing really happens and really starts to ramp up and the Antichrist really shows up and we got a one world government, I promise you the Jews will not be exempt. During COVID, who had the highest jab rate in the world? Who had the highest rate of being jabbed on the entire planet? You don't even know. Israel did. Now, how did Israel achieve the highest rate of people getting that mRNA shot? How do you think Israel, that they'd chosen, right? How do you think Israel had the highest rate of the snake bite, the mRNA, on the planet? How did they achieve that? Did they achieve it through democracy? Did they achieve it through liberty? Did they achieve it through we from Abraham's seed? Did they achieve it through being chosen? Not at all. Their own government said either get this or it's a wrap. And I keep telling you all that y'all got to see the forest through the trees. This is bigger than Jewish people. The end all be all ain't Jewish people because y'all don't read y'all Bible. You hop on social media and listen to people. Read your Bible. Listen to what Christ says. Go read Revelations. Come on, man. He still don't get it. Listen, man, and I'm gonna be done with you. Do you think that this Messiah that's coming, this Antichrist, you think he gonna spare the Jewish people? Is that what you think? Do you think that? Do you think that he's going to spare the Jews when their own government didn't spare them? During COVID, their own government didn't spare them. He's not going to spare them. They don't know nothing. Somebody said, you're right. Somebody said they don't believe in God. They don't understand. They don't understand. He don't understand. Hey, look, he going to see though. Listen, when it happens, they're going to be looking crazy. Because see, now when it happens, they're going to be like, oh my goodness. They don't see, this is what people think, right? People think that the devil actually makes deals with people. People think that the devil actually is going to honor his deal with people. He don't know nothing. He don't know anything. They listen. They don't read their Bible, so they don't know. I can't even be mad. They don't read their Bible.
I'm so sick of, and I think all of society is sick of, hearing about all these excuses. And even the conservative blacks will give them, like Jason Whitlock is a perfect example. When I gave a similar...
Hold on, Will. Hey, Will, I believe that. I believe that, Will. They probably didn't want to. I agree. They probably didn't. And listen, I'm not saying that there isn't nefarious people at play. I'm not saying that at all. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that all of these governments are wicked. All these all these nations, all these nations are wicked. They are, all these governments are wicked. Like, what are we talking about? I'm saying that the end all be all ain't the Jews. Because I'm telling you now, when they usher in that Messiah, he is not going to spare anybody. He's not. He's not going to spare anybody. He's going to have global power, but y'all don't read your Bible, though, to know what he's going to do. He's going to bring peace around the world. He's going to be the global leader, not just the leader of the Jews. You so silly. He is not going to be just the leader of the Jews. He's going to be a global leader. There's going to be a one world centralized government. We have a centralized bank. We have the World Health Organization. We have the World Economic Forum. We have the United Nations. We already have a set up world government already. It's just waiting for a leader. So he's going to reside over the planet. He's not going to spare nobody. And y'all think he's going to spare the Jew? He's going to get them first. He's going to terrorize them first. Can't make no deal with the devil.
Jason Whitlock is a perfect example. When I gave a similar monologue about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, Jason Whitlock, who's a black conservative at the Blaze, said that this is a demonic sentiment. He said the problem is a lack of Christianity or something or other. The problem is a lack of accountability. And I think a lot of black people hide behind these various things, whether it's the liberals that say it's slavery and racism, or it's the conservatives, and they blame it on welfare, hip hop, or the Great Society.
So again, I'm going to say what I've said before. These are all surface level topics. We have to address the programming and propaganda that black people have been under for about 150 years. If black people were the majority in America, America would have already been communist. The amount of programming and propaganda that black folks have received in America has turned other nations communist. The only reason America isn't communist is because black people are 12 to 13%. That's the only reason. In all the other countries, it worked. So again, we're having these conversations. We can try to make them sound frivolous and silly, but we're talking about a black child coming out of the womb and getting programmed from his or her parents, getting programmed by what's on television, being programmed by toys, being programmed by games, being programmed at school, being programmed at church. There is no facet of society where black people aren't receiving programming and propaganda. So my question is, white liberals only get a glimpse of that and they flip out. The white liberal only gets a fraction of that programming and they go crash out. That's how powerful programming and propaganda is. So when we talk about Christ being a solution, Christ is a solution. Because one of the main problems with black people is their identity is entrenched in propaganda. So Christ is the only solution. The only way to get black people to be accountable at this stage in the game is going to be through Jesus. I'm sorry. Because what you call accountability isn't accountability in the black community. It's not. Like we said earlier, white people bad, black people good. That means if a white person doesn't like something, subconsciously you think it's good. You think you're doing good. If a white person has a problem with you, the program kicks in and you say, I must be doing something right.
It starts with you. It starts with every individual black person making choices like we all do. Who's raising these fucking people? Who's raising these people? So they're black people. It's baby mamas and baby daddies. I mean, who's perpetuating this? And who does it benefit to make these excuses and to say it's everybody else? So I see this stuff and look, yeah, we are going to call it out. We, the Americans, we the white people of America, we the peaceful, law-abiding, tax-paying people of America are saying, hey, blacks, get your shit together. Get your fucking shit together. We are fucking tired of you. We are tired of seeing this stuff. It always seems to be you.
And again, what Nick Fuentes is saying is true, right? However, what they're going to do is they're going to counter your message with your own words. So they're going to allow you to tell the truth, and then they're going to have you discredit your own truth with your own words. That's why you have to have a Christ-centered message. At the end of the day, if Nick Fuentes really cares, he would want black people to go to Christ. If I really care about somebody, like people say, you know, we stand with Israel. I'm like, if y'all really stood with Israel, y'all be offering them salvation. But I tell Nick the same thing, though. If you really care about black people getting their act together, then you would be promoting Christ to black people. Because when black people were behaving better, they were in the church. When black people had the highest marriage rate in America, they were in the church. What you saw, again, programming and propaganda, They infiltrated the church with communism. Nobody wants to talk about how deep this programming is. Y'all love the Matrix, but when I highlight how it is a real life thing, all of a sudden now y'all want to get dumb and simple. We just listened to him talk for 5 minutes and 23 seconds, and he only mentioned Christ when Jason Whitlock mentioned Christ. Jason Whitlock said the lack of Christ is the problem. So he is not invoking Christ in this rant. The last rant I played, he didn't invoke Christ. Matter of fact, he has not invoked Christ. He has not said for black people, your issue is you need Jesus. You need to repent. He has not said that. That is not his talking points. He's talking about being accountable. What are black folks going to be accountable to if their whole worldview is shaped by communism? Proverbs 1:7, God is the foundation of wisdom, but fools despise wisdom and correction. So if God isn't the foundation, of a person's existence, they're going to be foolish. So the only antidote for black people, he can say everything he's saying now, but to wrap this message up in the end, he has to bring in Christ. That's the only way. That's the only way. And you keep saying, do I know where communism comes from? Let's say, for argument's sake, the Jews created communism. My question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? We'd have had all these communist leaders kill all these people by the millions. But yet and still, we still got them doing the same thing today. I'm asking people, what are you going to do? I never hear a solution. If the Jews are the big bad boogeyman, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're telling me that the Jews control everything. Okay, let's say they control everything. So what are you going to do? If they control the banks, if they control the governments, if they control the media in which information is disseminated, then what are you going to do? It seems like to me that because you all are facing Goliath, you all should be preaching God that much more. Because really what you're saying is that the Jews are in full control. If the Jews are in full control, then the only way to defeat them is through Christ. That's it. So it seems like to me that you all's message should be 10% this rhetoric and 90% Christ. Because you all are up against a foe that y'all haven't been able to defeat. Because the Jews really got established with a nation or a state in 1948. And since 1948, they done dominated. So so again, y'all don't have a solution. How are you going to defeat Goliath? You keep saying that Nick talks about Christ. I'm telling you, as a solution for black people, he needs to tell black people that the issue at the end of all of this, when we dig through all of this, is a lack of Christ. That's the problem. Once we dig past accountability, once we dig past the communism, once we dig past the programming, once we dig past the culture, what is the root cause of all of this? It's a lack of Christ. Nick Fuentes does not say that. He does not say that at all. At the end of all these ills that the black people have, at the core of it, it is a lack of Christ. Where black folks went astray was they abandoned God's word. That was the issue. And I say it again. So Will said the Jews are the white man's white man. It's true. It's true. But let's continue.
Do you know that, and I'm just expressing what is a common sentiment. Do you know that everybody thinks that if we snapped our fingers and you all disappeared tomorrow, everybody thinks our quality of life would go up? Do you realize that?
But Nick, it's not true. If black people leave tomorrow, the liberals are going to get more radical. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell y'all? If black people leave tomorrow, the liberals are going to just get more radical. They're going to do what black folks are doing, but worse. You know what I noticed? You know what I noticed? This is what I noticed. I noticed that when black people do crimes, you know why it's talked about more? Because nobody respects the crime. Listen to me. Hear me out real quick. Do you know why the black crime is talked about from the way it's talked about? It's because nobody respects the crime. But you know what white liberals do? And not just white, but liberals. What liberals do is they attach a cause to their crime. And subconsciously, you respect, because think about it. Remember back in 2020, when them liberals were taking over whole sections of town in Seattle, taking over whole blocks in Portland, taking over whole blocks in Atlanta. Remember that? Remember the liberals was destroying the country. Mostly non-black liberals destroying the country in 2020. But you know why it was talked about differently? Because you respect that kind of crime. Because that kind of crime took some thought. It took some effort. It took a few speeches, took a few rallies, took some organization. You respect that crime. But guess what? It's still crime. We had literal liberals taking over city blocks for weeks and months, and nobody said nothing. Now, I know black people crash out and spin the block, homicide, armed robbery, kidnapping, extortion, drugs, prostitution, child abuse. I know blacks do all them crimes, but the white liberals, they do crime. It's just you respect it. You respect the white liberal crime because how it's presented, because they got a cause attached to it. But I keep telling you all, and make no mistake about it, if black people leave tomorrow, these liberals are going to go berserk. I'm telling you. The only thing saving all-out war actually is black people. Because when it comes to a civil war, black folks ain't gonna fight. And the white liberals ain't gonna fight unless the black folks fight. So there ain't gonna be no civil war. There'll never be a race war, ever. Because black folks ain't gonna do nothing. But if black folks ain't there, oh, them liberals finna crash out. I'm just telling you. So I'm just trying to just expand your purview. You respect one crime over the other. That's all. Because it's still crime. It's still crime. These liberals and communists are affecting your laws. Think about it. They're creating the atmosphere for these black folks to flourish. They're creating this atmosphere for black people to flourish how they're doing in this society. They're creating it. And as long as they're creating it, their problem's going to still be there. It's never going to go away. I just want to add a little context and nuance to what's being said. Listen, I like Nick. I like Nick. But at the same time, if the goal is to achieve some kind of solidarity with people that have American values, then you're going to have to contextualize the message. Otherwise, you can't solve the problem. Paul just said, what about the insane trans monster? The trans community has been doing all kinds of mass shootings. Again, I keep telling you all that the only thing keeping these liberals at bay is the fact that there's another group that can be focused on. You remove black people, society will not get better, I promise you. Them liberals gonna crash out because now they really got to prove something. All right.
I'm just saying it, everyone's thinking it. When we think of what's wrong with Chicago, it's like utopia. Chicago's like a utopia. Beautiful riverfront, beautiful lakefront, concerts in the park, ball games in the park, beautiful architecture, the best food. You know what the one problem is with Chicago that's driving the businesses out of the Magnificent Mile? You know what the one problem is that's making the public transit unusable? You know what the one problem is that's driving richer residents from the city? It's the crime. It's the chaos. It's the violence. And you know what demographic is almost exclusively responsible for it? It's you. It's black people.
Black people may be almost exclusively responsible for most of the damage done to America. But they are the hands, but there's an arm attached to the hand. And the arm attached to the hand are the communists and the liberals. So, yes, black people are destroying cities. But who is creating the environment for the city to be destroyed? Black folks aren't doing that. Black folks don't control any infrastructure. Black folks are good at coming and tearing stuff up. Now, black folks can destroy some easily, but they're not creating an infrastructure, though. So again, it's a low-hanging fruit to go after black folks because it's easy. I'm saying, who created the environment for these black people to do this? Nick Buck said the Jews. But even if it's the Jews, how are you going to fix the problem? How are you going to get black people to be accountable? And how are you going to deal with the Jews who y'all say control everything? How are you going to defeat it? How are you going to make black people more accountable because you feel unsafe, and at the same time defeat the Jews who control everything? I've yet to hear a solution. It seems like to me, because this is a literal David versus Goliath scenario. David had to get instruction from God on how to defeat Goliath. That means that David's initial thoughts weren't going to work. The people around David's thoughts weren't going to work. They tried to give him armor, and it wasn't going to work. So whatever plan that you all have, it's not going to work if it's not centered around Christ. So how are you going to, quote unquote, deal with the Jews without offering the Jews Christ, without offering them salvation? How? If you truly want to defeat the Jews, how are you going to do it without Christ? On one hand, you all tell me they control everything. They control everything. But then I say, okay, what are we going to do about it? Crickets. Black people are tearing these cities apart. Okay, what are we going to do about it? Crickets. See, the problem is that y'all don't have a solution. That's the problem. You know why? Because what you're doing isn't centered around Christ. That's why. So if Christ isn't at the foundation of it, then it's not going to work. So again, I tell black people all the time, if I give any kind of rant, at the end of my rant, I tell them, you need to go repent and give your life to Christ. Because a black person may follow all the steps, but if they don't follow that Christ step, they're not going to make it anyway. So what was the point? Let's continue.
Everyone's thinking that. Everyone's fucking sick of it. And the way that society is going, stuff is too expensive. Wages are too low. Housing is too expensive. We work too hard to then spend our hard-earned money to go to Lollapalooza, spend our hard-earned money for a fun weekend in the city. God knows how expensive it is to eat out nowadays or to take an Uber. And then to constantly have to be worrying about this. God knows how expensive it is to afford to live in a nice city like New York or Chicago. And then to have to put up with that. People are, I think now, too broke to be woke. People are too broke, work too hard to be dealing with this kind of stuff and hear BLM and to hear these excuses about slavery and racism and the white privilege. It's enough. So the shame will continue. The shaming of the black community in America will continue until it improves. Yes, we will.
It is not going to change. Because again, what he's talking about is from a person's mind that is not programmed by communism. Like, so again, black people, if you don't like it, they're doing the right thing. If the more white people say it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, the more black folks gonna double down. You think black folks are waking up. I'm around them. They're not. You think black folks are waking up. I am around them. Quite often, they are not. Trust me. They are doubling down. Because the more white people that speak out, it just reaffirms that America's racist. The moment a white person says, I'm going to hold you accountable, it reaffirms the programming. It reaffirms slavery, segregation, Jim Crow. It reaffirms everything. So black folks aren't going to feel shame by what you're talking about because they're not shameful. If you don't like it, they're doing a good job. Black culture has become a religion at this point. And it's a global religion. Black culture is the only culture that is accepted around the world. When black folks go outside of America and somebody comes up to them, they're excited to talk about black culture. Excited. This is why I say that black people are going to usher in the Antichrist, because black people are going to create the culture that's going to get people primed and ready to follow the Antichrist. You are not going to escape this being a spiritual battle. You're not. And you can focus on Jews and Benjamin and Yahoo all you want, but I'm telling you now, when that Antichrist shows up, it is going to be a problem for every single body. I'm telling you, he's not going to care. He's going to get on TV and say, this is a great day for Israel. This is a great day for Jewish people. And boy, he about to wreak havoc. And we saw a precursor. We saw a precursor in 2020, 2021, when it came to them mRNA shots. When it wasn't a democracy then. It wasn't no chosen people then. When it came in 2021, 2020, mRNA shots, oh, it was on site. It was demanding, you're gonna do this. You either take this shot or be ostracized from society. But I'm chosen. Take it or get out. It wasn't playing, but that was a precursor, though. That was a precursor. Why am I talking to y'all? Y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't know nothing. I'm wasting my time.
We'll shake our heads. We will exchange that knowing glance. We will make that face. We will comment. Well. We will name and shame. We will turn and walk away. We will move to neighborhoods where you are not until it improves. And you can deal with each other.
Listen, Nick, black people deal with each other already. The problem in the black community is that black people love to say that it's this amount of people doing it. But the only reason that this amount of people can represent all is if the approval of the majority is given to them. The majority approves what the subset of the culture is doing. The fact that George Floyd has a statue and Breonna Taylor has a statue should tell us everything. At least with MLK, there's huge amounts of programming and propaganda as to why he has streets and statues. But George Floyd, that's how deep the programming is, though. They told black people, if you go and visit your family members, you're going to get them sick and they're going to die. But if you go and protest, you won't get sick. So again, the programming and propaganda goes beyond belief. But the problem is that the majority of black people condone black culture. The majority of black people don't condone necessarily all the crime. What they condone is the culture, and the culture condones the crime. So in other words, you aren't allowed to piecemeal out of black culture. Either you're black or you're not. You can't take this part of black culture and no, either you're black or you're not.
And Johnson and the teachers union and all these fucking thugs and opportunists, Jason Whitlock, all the wokesters, everyone making excuses. You can all live in Wakanda. You can keep all that black excellence for yourself. We're good. And you know what? I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. I hope you figure it out for your sake, for our sake, but we're done. And how long before a U.S. presidential candidate gets up and identifies the problem? Because the second that candidate comes up, that person's going to win in a landslide.
Guess what, Nick? We already had it. Guess what, Nick? We already had it. The reason why those black leaders hated Obama was because he was talking to black people. Their main contention with Obama when he was running was how he was talking to black people. The only reason that black folks voted for Obama is because they believed he was black. They ain't listening to nothing he said, because what he said is what a conservative would say today. Obama was the one that was addressing black people specifically with how they present themselves in public, with the crime, not being fathers. Like, Obama addressed all of it. If we want to get technical, he called it out. But guess what, Nick? The programming and propaganda. So when they saw a black face saying it, guess what they did? They didn't even listen to none of it. They voted for him anyway. Go revisit your history and look at all the black leaders and their contention with Obama. Their issue with Obama was the fact that how he was talking to black people. Well, I think Nick Fuentes is Mexican and Italian, ain't he? Ain't he Mexican and Italian?
Because we're sick of it. We want our lives back. We want our cities back. We don't want to feel anxious all the time. We don't want to feel afraid all the time. We don't want to live in fear that we're going to wake up and someone's going to steal our car, and then we might get in trouble if we respond in the wrong way. Or we're going to be on a subway and get a knife pulled on us, and we're going to get ordered to the ground for defending ourselves.
Yes, Nick. Yes. Yes. This can is too far down the road. It's going to take divine intervention to fix this. Paul says they are marching now in NYC, Al Sharpton, Crump, and Mamdani, and a bunch of bliggity screaming they don't want Trump to clean up the crime in their cities. They really are evil. Yeah, Nick. Listen, Nick, you got to understand something, man. You got to understand something. That what you think is just a black person saying, I'll be accountable tomorrow. It's not that simple. It's not that. These folks have been programmed for decades. We're talking about for the past 150 years, it's been nonstop programming and propaganda. For 150 years. I've been on this journey for 5 years, Nick, and I can honestly tell you it's not getting better, it's getting worse. I'm telling you, I'm around black people all the time. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. It's actually getting like they're actually more programmed. They're more like they're actually getting, it's like they're devolving. They're devolving. I'm telling you, I'm being honest. So you talking about words like shame and accountability? Man, please. Their goal ultimately is to destroy America.
It's insane. It's utterly insane, and we all know what's going on. So I saw this Raja Jackson thing, and whatever. I mean, it's live streaming, it's professional wrestling. Who knows what's real and what's fake? The reason that it provoked this response is because we've seen the scene. We've seen it before 1,000,000 times, and it's infuriating. And as I said, it's not just the violence. It's this almost pathological, evil, anti-human cruelty, disregard for human life, malevolence. And then listen, people get in altercations, people get in fights. Sometimes there's violence. It is what it is. We all know this is what they do. They attack in packs. They stomp the head. That's what they go for. And it's fucking evil. And that needs to be called out. It needs to be called out by the black people. And if black people want to be loud and proud, they want to be talking about the black community, you must be equally loud in your condemnation of this kind of stuff than you are in your praise when it's the positive things. You can't have it. It's not a one-way street when it comes to that sort of thing.
I'm going to say this. I don't see anything to praise. At this point, for the next 10 years, black folks, it should be all condemnation. I haven't, in my lifetime, I have not seen anything that should be collectively praised by black people. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. So when black folks are praising, what they're praising is programming and propaganda. They're not praising anything legitimate. It's just programming. You're not going to be able to get around this communism piece. The communists literally said, we're going to use Negroes to destroy America. We're going to invest money, efforts, get people in schools, government. Like, we're going to unleash this massive plan to get black people to destroy America. And you think it's just as simple as to say, I'm going to be accountable and I'm going to condemn that? No, we're talking about over a century of programming and propaganda. Over 100, we haven't even seen this before, and the country didn't turn communist. We've never seen it. So what black people are praising is nonsense. And again, when we talk about condemnation, what black people condemn are white people and black people that they believe are doing what's right. All you got to do, Nick, is just look at which black people get the most heat. Black people dislike Jason Whitlock. You dislike Jason Whitlock. Black people dislike Candace Owens. You dislike Candace Owens. Black people dislike Officer Tatum. You dislike Officer Ted. Isn't it funny how everybody that the black people don't like, you don't like them either? Me personally, if I see black folks liking something, I like the opposite just on general principle. So let's say tomorrow black people say we want to I don't know, whatever trend they might come up with. Some of the black, I don't know, it probably ain't gonna be positive. But whatever black folks go on, let's say black people go on they're buying a bunch of dogs. I don't know. Black people buying a bunch of dogs. I don't know. I'm gonna go buy a cat. Whatever black folks is doing, I'm doing the opposite. Because I know if I'm doing the opposite, I'm closer to what's right than they are. Whatever black folks are doing, I do the opposite. But it's just funny, Nick, that the same people black folks don't like, you don't like them either. And the reason why black folks are posting a lot of your videos is because you are chewing up the people they don't like. And you're a white person doing it. So that gives you more credibility. Whatever the black people are doing, I do the opposite. If I see a bunch of black folks going to the lake, I'm gonna go try to find me a desert. I'm just be honest with you. If I see a bunch of black folks going to somewhere where it's hot, they going. If I see a bunch of black folks going to to Africa, I'm going to Antarctica. Whatever black folks is doing, I'm doing the opposite. Because I know the opposite of what black folks is doing is closer to what's right than they are. Well, I think Nick is Mexican and Italian, right? I think Mexican and Italian, right? Let's continue. But yes, black people do need to condemn this behavior, but they can't. If they do it, they won't be considered black. Listen, I can tell you from experience, since I've been on my journey, I done lost friends and family. That's how serious it is. And, they don't want to address this, but black people are losing their friends and family for having views that are right. Black people are losing friends and family for standing on truth. That's how bad it is in the black community. You're not going to shame them for like thinking that you're going to shame a group of people that would cancel their family member because they voted for Trump. You'll cancel lifelong friendships because a black person is conservative or Republican. You think you're going to shame those people? You're not going to shame them. They don't have any shame. Black people in these past 5 years have been canceling people for standing on what's right. Think about that. How are you going to shame them? How are you going to shame a group of people that lead the nation in homicide? That lead the nation in that lead the world in a homicide, that lead the world in abortion. Their children can't read, write, or do math on grade level. All kind of debauchery and sexual immorality is welcomed. The women are feminists. The men are weak. The pastors are getting their orders from Satan. Like, how you gonna shame them people? How you gonna? Black people hate the facts, but they despise the truth. And as long as you're telling the truth, black folks are going to despise you. You're not going to be able to shame black people at this point. I'm sorry. They're going to need Jesus. It has to be a divine intervention, almost like an exorcism. Let's continue. I love y'all, though. I love y'all. I don't know if Nick loves y'all, but I love y'all. I love everybody, though. Where is my video of Dang it. Because Chad did a video, man, and oh man. Oh man, my bad, y'all. Man, Chad had a video and I thought I put it in here. It was good too. Oh, it was a good video. He posted it today because it really drove home the point. Dang it.
Well, now, I believe you support the...
I'm going to play this one next, but because Chad had a video, man, and I can't believe I didn't say that video on here. That's crazy. All right, my bad, y'all. I had to play it another time. Dang. All right.
Well, now, I believe you support the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. Is that correct?
We have what we call the Rainbow Coalition, which is a coalition between the Panther Party, the Patriot Party, and the Young Lords organization. And this organization expresses solidarity because we recognize this is a class struggle. And we recognize the class we come from, the oppressed people, has no color. And again, this is concerning why the Hogan and Nixon, right from the White House down, are trying to wipe out the Patriot Party, the same way they're trying to wipe out the Panthers and the Young Lords, because we do have this solidarity with the oppressed people.
Now, what does he sound like? What does he sound like? I'll play it again.
Well, now, I believe you support the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. Is that correct?
We have what we call the Rainbow Coalition, which is a coalition between the Panther Party, the Patriot Party, and the Young Lords organization. And this organization expresses solidarity because we recognize this is a class struggle. And we recognize the class we come from, the oppressed people, has no color. And again, this is concerning why the Hogan and Nixon, right from the White House down, are trying to wipe out the Patriot Party, the same way they're trying to wipe out the Panthers and the Young Lords, because we do have this solidarity with the oppressed people.
What does he sound like? My bad. They're communists. They're communists. They're communists claiming to be patriots. Listen to them.
Well, now, I believe you support the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. Is that correct?
We have what we call the Rainbow Coalition, which is a coalition between the Panther Party, the Patriot Party, and the Young Lords organization. And this organization expresses solidarity because we recognize this is a class struggle. And we recognize the class we come from, the oppressed people, has no color. And again, this is concerning why the Hogan and Nixon, right from the White House down, are trying to wipe out the Patriot Party, the same way they're trying to wipe out the Panthers and the Young Lords, because we do have this solidarity with the oppressed people.
Now, I want you to think about this guy in this video right here. Now, it's funny. This guy says, I don't think you get the bigger picture. And I'm literally the one that's talking about the Antichrist. Imagine someone telling me I don't get the bigger picture talking about the Antichrist as if something is bigger than the Antichrist. I mean, just the nerve of these people, just the nerve, the gall of these people. I don't see the bigger picture, but I'm talking about the Antichrist. Anyway, this guy right here has on the rebel flag. He says he's a patriot, but he's standing in solidarity with communist organizations. This is how psyops work. This is how it works. Now, he's saying he's a patriot, but all of his talking points are communists. It's a class struggle. There's no color in class. I mean, literally, communists, but posing as a patriot. Standing in solidarity with groups that are literally saying they're communists. And we got to go against the government. Queen Black Essence said, I've been following you since 2020. Thank you so much. I think it's been 5 years. That's crazy. It's been 5 years. That's crazy. Here goes somebody in the chat. He's right, though. He's right, though. Crazy. Nikki, did you send it to my email? If you could still send it, please. Let me see something. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. This man said that the Antichrist, oh my goodness. Listen, the Bible talks about the deception to be so great that if it were possible, it'd be able to deceive God's elect. My goodness. People have no idea what's coming. They have no idea of what's coming. Let me share the screen. You said I'm blurry. Do I still look blurry? Do I still look blurry?
Agenda of so-called progressivism, to make progressives look like the moderate people, to make progressive people look like the adults in the room, as it were, that the public and the general society would be more willing to cast their lot behind, as opposed to somebody like a Nick Fuentes, who's actually saying the right things. He's just saying it in a very ugly and jarring way. This actually reminds me of the film American History X. There's this scene, the real nefarious agenda, so as to discredit those right things that are right, and give off Fed vibes. But the reality is there's been a lot of talk of whether Nick Fuentes is a Fed or a Psyop or not. And I'm not saying that he is, but what I will say is that it does kind of give off Fed vibes. What I mean by this is this kind of idea of saying things that are right, but doing so in the most off-putting way so as to discredit those right things, which then creates an avenue to push for the real nefarious agenda of so-called progressivism, to make progressives look like the moderate people, to make progressive people look like the adults in the room, as it were, that the public and the general society would be more willing to cast their lot behind, as opposed to somebody like a Nick Fuentes, who's actually saying the right things. He's just saying it in a very ugly and jarring way. This actually reminds me of the
So do y'all get what Chad is saying? Chad is saying that Chad is saying that what Nick Fuentes is saying is right. Right, it's right. But the problem is that it's the right thing coming from a quote unquote racist, which makes the right thing the wrong thing. So in other words, what I'm saying is that when the right thing comes out of the wrong person's mouth, folks are not going to say, well, it's the wrong person saying the right thing. They're going to say that that right thing is wrong. So what he's saying is that the progressives are now seen as the more sensible choice because the alternative is Nick Fuentes. This is how they're trying to paint this picture. Either you want Nick Fuentes or you want AOC. Either you want Nick Fuentes or you want Cori Bush. Either you want Nick Fuentes or you want who's the guy? Cory Booker. You see what I'm saying? Like they're gonna put these two people together side by side, say pick. Like Pontius Pilate did. He said, listen, we got Jesus right here, we got Barabbas. Make your choice. Thinking that people are going to pick Christ, they know they're going to pick Barabbas. He's a murderer. They pick Barabbas. If you put Nick Fuentes against those people, they're going to pick them. Even though Nick Fuentes will probably be the better choice, if we had to pick between all these people, they would still pick them because of how the messaging is framed. And Chad's about to talk about this right now in this scene of what Hollywood does. Hollywood does the exact same thing. In all the movies, they'll have somebody saying what's right, but then paint them as just like All in the Family. Go back and watch that first season of All in the Family. Archie Bunker was spitting the truth, but guess what? They was calling him racist. So even though he's telling the truth, they're going to destroy the message because of the messenger. It shouldn't be the case. I disagree with that. To me, you don't have to be perfect to tell the truth.
Film American History X. There's this scene where the family is a son, but basically what it is propaganda literature. It makes the case that poverty and race keeps people down. It keeps people trapped. And because of that, that leads to crime. That leads to violence. It's kind of underhandedly advocating for social reform, social revolution, even that would bring about a system in society where everybody's provided for by the government, such to where they don't have to resort to a life of crime and violence. That's basically what the book is pushing. And so the oldest son says, yeah, we're reading Native Son. I quite like it. I quite like the teacher who's teaching us these things. And the father, who is, I think, either a police officer or firefighter, makes some interesting comments.
Gotta watch out for that.
After giving this very astute and very accurate retort to the way things are going, he takes it back to the book and he says that this book is BS. It's nigger BS. And so what the director or the writer is doing is very slick. They're taking things that are true. They're taking agendas that are actually at play, and they're trying to dismiss them as conspiracy theories by framing them under the guise of quote unquote white supremacy. When the reality is, I don't care who you are or what job you're on, you want the person next to you to be competent. You want them to have earned their position by way of their merit and not some kind of race quota. Books like Native Son literally is propaganda. They exist to push for legislations, for policies. And the fact that they are being taught in schools is a problem. The father is absolutely right to point that out. But again, it gets dismissed and it goes unheard because of the fact that it is delivered and disseminated under the guise of quote unquote white supremacy. So we see it in films and we see it with Nick Fuentes.
So And Chad made a brilliant point right here. And this is how it works, to where somebody's telling the truth and they discredit what they're saying is deemed not credible because of the person being labeled as a racist. Now, I don't believe that Nick Fuentes is racist. I don't. But if he's labeled racist, then that rhetoric, which is truth, it gets called white supremacist talking points. So now, if anybody else dares to tell the truth, they'll be labeled as a white supremacist, or those are white supremacist talking points or conspiracy theories. Either way, the message gets discredited. And the problem is that I, nor Chad, nor Nick Fuentes controls the media. The Bible says that we have to be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. Why is God saying that? Why is God saying be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove? You want to be wise as a serpent to know how the enemy operates. You have to know how the enemy operates, but you got to be like a dove to where you don't come across as an enemy. In fact, a dove, some people look forward to even seeing. You want to be able to be in these arenas and be in these places, and they got to just outright do something to you, not that you actually did something. So think about Christ. Christ didn't actually do anything, so they had to just go ahead and just kill him, crucify him. And so my point is that this is what I mean by contextualizing the message. I promise you, if you contextualize the message, you can still say how you want to talk, but you got to contextualize it first. Just like last week, or not last week, on some of my videos, sometimes folks will be leaving comments, and now people that follow my content will be telling people this is, he always talks about, like they actually contextualize what I'm saying. Now the video might just be satire and comedy, but people in the chat are contextualizing the message. And I think you said Blanche, I get it, but Nick does sound like he doesn't like blacks. The way he says things are just whack, even though he has a very good and valid points. I'm gonna be honest with you. In my heart of hearts, I don't believe that Nick Fuentes dislikes black people in general. I think he dislikes a segment of the black population for sure. But I think the segment that Nick Fuentes dislikes, I think we all dislike. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the segment that Nick Fuentes dislikes is what we all like. I don't think that Nick Fuentes, in the sense, dislikes Jason Whitlock because he's black, or Candace Owens because she's black, or Officer Tatum because I think he dislikes them for their views, but not because they're black. I think that Nick Fuentes actually respects those people, but he doesn't like their views. But you're talking about folks in Chicago spinning the block. Of course he don't like them. I don't like them either, though. So I don't think he just dislikes black people, period. I think he dislikes the demographic of black people that are either crashing out, probably the activists, probably the mayor of Chicago. Think about it. The mayor of Chicago. I mean, imagine living in Chicago, seeing black folks cut up, and then the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, getting on TV talking about I've only hired black people. Like, we don't need, crime isn't bad in our city. We don't need trouble. Like, it's just, I mean, it's crazy. But let's continue.
I have caught a couple of episodes of Nick Fuentes' show, and I admit a lot of the stuff that he says is absolutely 100% true. But it's jarring and off-putting to the general public insofar that he's saying all these true things under the banner of so-called white supremacy. And so he is, in a roundabout way, discrediting these true claims. And also he's discrediting Christianity because he's saying these things while claiming to be a Christian. I don't know whether Fuentes is a Fed or not. I don't know if he's a Psyop or not. The reality is that in the real world, it does serve the function of discrediting these good ideas because of who is saying it and the tone in which they're saying it. But I, for one, am not somebody who buys into this idea that many people try to push, that by agreeing with certain things Nick Fuentes says, then that I'm casting my lot with white supremacy, that I'm giving a nod to white supremacy. You see this happen all the time where so-called conservatives, because they want to prove that, look, I'm not like Nick Fuentes. I do buy into these progressive ideas. I do believe X, Y, and Z. They overcorrect. And that is how the psyop is done. Please understand this.
And what Chad is saying is 1,000% correct. 1,000%. And again, this is what they've been doing though. So they'll give Nick like when Nick went on Candace's show, like she asked him about him being a racist, and he was being very tongue-in-cheek with her. He was joking with her. He's like, I think I'm past racism, but I mean, again, people that have a brain can tell when somebody is joking and when they're being serious and when they're being speaking in context and out of context. It's just nuance in conversation, but you know, on the left, they're just so literal and liberal, so they just retarded. But anyway, but yeah, but what Chad is saying is 1,000% correct, because what they do is they'll say that this person is this, and so if this person is this, you can't agree with them at all. And not just that Nick is right about black people. A lot of stuff Nick says he's right about. A lot of it, like even with historical stuff, he's right about. Like Nick isn't on his show just blowing smoke through out his rear end. No, it ain't just factual about black people. It's other stuff too, historical stuff, events, people involved. Like he does his research. So again, Nick is not discredited in him being a person that tells the truth. But think about it though, that's what makes a psyop work. That's what makes it dangerous, that a person's actually telling the truth, but they're using the truth to push an agenda. They're using truth because most people think that people is going to lie to you. That's not how it works. It's a little bit deeper than that. The devil told Eve, oh, you won't surely die. What is he really saying to her? You're not going to drop dead if you eat this fruit. He ain't telling her, oh, you're going to eventually die. Oh, you're not going to surely die. Go and eat the fruit. He ain't telling her, oh, you're going to die, but you're going to die. He ain't doing the but part. So again, Nick Fuentes is giving a great message, but the same message is discredited by the rhetoric around the message. And me personally, I don't care about him saying the N-word. I don't care about him saying the blacks. I don't care about him saying white. I don't care about none of that. IQ. I don't care about that. But I know that most people aren't like myself or Chad or whoever else that can see something and not really get offended by what somebody is saying. Just take it like, okay, but again, I don't know. But yeah, Chad I agree with him 1,000%. Chad's thought is wrong. Nick is someone who discredits conservatism. He is having a moment because he doesn't care about being called racist or saying the N-word. People appreciate real. Yeah, but that's deception too, though. You believe that a rapper is real because they were using profanity. You believe that a rapper was real because of the way they dressed, they're using profanity. They may have went to jail. They were a part of a gang. That don't mean they're real. That don't mean they're real. When it comes to NWA, there was only one gangster, Eazy-E. So again, a person can use words to make you seem credible. A lot of Nick's credibility is coming from the fact he's talking about Israel. But he even admits that talking about Israel is a mainstream talking point now. It's cool. It's in vogue. I've talked about Israel before. Not even Israel, I've talked about Jews before. I've talked about Jews before. Forget Israel, I've talked about Jews before in videos, and nothing happened. My videos started getting destroyed and pages taken down talking about black culture. That's what opened my eyes. Me talking about Jews, nothing happens to my account. Me talking about black culture, I can show you videos now. Oh, we can't monetize this video. We can't monetize this video. I'm just telling you. So just because somebody uses the N-word doesn't mean they're actually credible. We got to be a little smarter than that. We got to understand that people know how to talk to people. People know how to, like, so he's not credible because he says the N-word, because he gets on conservatives. I mean, that'll make him credible. Again, he could still be working for whoever. Like, he can still be used to discredit the right. Like, so again, him saying words doesn't make him credible. This is why I say that we got to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Because a good tree can't bear bad fruit, much like a bad tree can't bear good fruit. And most of you all don't read, you all don't have any wisdom or understanding. So most of you all take things on a surface level. I know what's behind the words. I'm talking about the spirit behind something. What's the reason why? And so he's not credible, just like a rapper isn't credible because they say a few words or throw up a gang sign. I don't make somebody credible. I mean, we've seen this our whole lives. People doing things to seem credible. Come on.
And that leads me to my last point, which is, Nick Fuentes has criticized Jason Whitlock as being a token. And he really leans into that. He believes that this is the thing that's going to sink Jason Whitlock's ship, as it were, by calling him a token. He's trying to tap dance and appeal to white people. He only got his job because he's a black man saying things that white people want to hear. Again, this is another psyop. Is Nick Fuentes doing this knowingly? I can't say yay or nay, but it does serve the function of a psyop. What do I mean by that? Well, you just heard Nick say that, why aren't black people calling these things out? Why aren't black people holding other black people accountable? Why aren't black people saying that these things are wrong? Why aren't black people having a sense of shame? Nick just said that. And to the extent that you have Jason Whitlock, who is actually doing that, who is on the record calling out black misbehavior, who is on the record talking about black people need to have a sense of shame and black people need to get back to God and all the things. To the extent that you have that, Nick then turns around and calls him a token, calls him a kind of sellout. You understand how this psychological operation is going.
And Candace Owens is critical, which used to be a black culture. Officer Tatum, critical of the Blighties. Jason Whitlock, critical of the Blighties. So the people that he's going after are actually critical of what black people are doing. They are. And matter of fact, they were doing it when it wasn't popular. Like it's a new trend talking about black folks now over these past, since Trump been in office. That's been a new trend. Folks feeling more emboldened and more powerful before, when Trump being in office his second term. But I can assure you that they were doing that back when it wasn't popular. When I started doing it, it wasn't popular. So there have been black folks that have been calling this out and saying that black folks should be shameful and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, I know why he doesn't like Jason Whitlock, because Jason Whitlock was calling him out. Same with Tatum and same with Candace Owens. And me personally, I think that Jason Whitlock's call out of Nick Fuentes is different than Candace Owens and Officer Tatum's. I respect Jason Whitlock's call out more than I respect their call out. That makes sense. Because Jason Whitlock followed his call out by saying that I'm not going to bow the knee to somebody because they think they got some, he didn't just say that, he actually elaborated on that. And so I like Jason Whitlock's take better than theirs when it came to Nick Fuentes. But at the end of the day, there are people that to call Jason Whitlock a token, and to call these people tokens and sellouts is the same thing that the Bliggity say. I'm sorry. I would never call Candace Owens a token or a sellout. I would never call Tatum that or Whitlock. I would never call a conservative a sellout or token. Why? Because the term itself is rooted in propaganda and programming. Black folks aren't saying it because it's true. They're saying it because they're being held accountable. So calling someone a token is literally reinforcing a black propaganda communist talking point. He sound like a Bliggity. He do.
It's very contradictory, if you will. The fact is, I do agree with Nick. You do need Black people calling it out. You do need people, Black people who are saying the things that need to be said. Because unfortunately, we live in a society where if white people were to say the same things, they will be accused of being a racist and a bigot and all the things, such as Nick is being accused of. But there are white people who call these things out, who call Black people's misbehavior out without doing it in the fashion that Nick Fuentes does it. There are white people who do that. So it is possible to be a white person and call out degeneracy in culture, be it by Blacks or whites or whomever. It is possible to be a white person that does that without being intentionally over the top so as to discredit the whole thing that you're trying to say. I understand that as a Black man, for me to call out cultural degeneracy in so-called Black America, I'm more effective than a white person would be in this same position. I understand that. That's not lost on me. But it seems to me that Nick Fuentes, in order for him to not see you as a token or a sellout, you have to agree with him on every front, including this idea that as a Black man, I have a lower IQ than white people, just for no other reason than I have black skin. I have to agree with him on that. And to the extent that I don't agree, I'm a token. I just tell white people the things they want to hear.
Y'all go check the video out, because my time is coming to. I'm already over my time, 15 minutes. But y'all go check what Chad said out. But I agree with Chad though. And again, this is what I mean, right? So Nick Fuentes can chew up Jason Whitlock. He can chew him up. But when he starts using propaganda talking points, I'm going to look at him crazy. See, the issue isn't him not liking Jason Whitlock. That's not the issue. The issue is using propaganda language. Sellout and token is propaganda language. That's what it is. Saying that folks on January 6th was in militias is propaganda language. Attacking police officers, propaganda language. Storming the Capitol, propaganda language. You can make your point without using propaganda language. So he can chew Jason Whitlock to shreds without calling him a sellout token because those talking points come from communism, Black Marxism. And he isn't a sellout because he's actually selling Black people out. He's a sellout because he's holding Black people accountable. Well, listen, I agree that you can bring Nick Fuentes on your platform. Maybe they should. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that if anybody used propaganda language, I'm going to call them out. I got on Candace Owens for the way she handled Nick in that interview. Even Officer Tatum was talking about Nick Fuentes. And I didn't agree with it. So again, it's not about, people can disagree with whoever they want to disagree with, but I'm saying don't use the propaganda language, because now I'm going to think you a Fed. I'm going to think you a Psyop, because those words are trigger words for these dummies out here. It's already programmed and propagandized. Cruise Missile, thank you so much, sir, for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pam, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am, so much. And Shoshana, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. So generous. Well, listen, I don't mind somebody making videos about me as long as they truthful. So if you make a video and you say, man, he saying he ain't black, you're right. Man, he calling us bliggities, you're right. He said we're gonna usher in the Antichrist, you're right. Like, I don't mind you telling the truth about me. But I mean, at this point, people should have Nick on. If you all have such strong feelings about him, then I would say have him on the show. But to me, they won't have him on the show because they don't want him to influence their fan base. That's to me it's just they're afraid, in my opinion. It's fear. I don't think it's a genuine I don't want him on the show. I think it's a fear of this guy might come on here making sense. So I don't agree with that. Thank you, value customer. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you. But listen, y'all. Listen, I love y'all. I went over. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. The question still remains. Today's title, Nick Fuentes, America's Next Leader or Psyop. It still remains. We don't know if he's a Fed or Psyop. We don't know. But we like a lot of his messaging. We do. I'm going to be honest. I like his content, but am I just 100% sold that he is a Fed? No. Am I 100% sold that he's not a Fed? No. So it still remains to be seen. But listen, I love y'all. Thank you, Nikki, for sending the email for this video with Chad. Thank y'all so much. I want y'all to have a good night. I got to work on getting my rest. So I got to be dedicated to being a sleep warrior. I saw a video today about my sleep. I got to get into bed, y'all. But listen, I love y'all. I want y'all to have a good night. And I want y'all to be praying for people that you don't get along with. Pray for folks you don't like. You should be praying for the folks y'all don't like. You know that, right? So if you don't like somebody or some people, you should be praying for them. Listen, I love y'all, and I will see y'all on Saturday.